Then they came with a whip which was about 18 inches long, the handle, and to the whip they had 6 to 8 inches of leather straps coming out from it. So now you have a handle that's about 18 inches long, and there's about 6 or 8 leather strips coming out from it. Okay, and what they did was they took bone and they took nails and they tied them into the strips. So now you have somebody that's bent over this piece of wood, and there's a soldier and he's okay. So guess what's going to happen with the bones and the nails? What happens to the bones and the nails? They go into his body, and then when he does like this, what happens? What? So what? So he's actually pulling out pieces of flesh from his body.
That just hurts me.
Alright? So now his whole back and his legs, there's no skin that you can see. It's all one mass of blood. Alright, think of the pain now. Think of the pain. Not only the pain in his head, because his brain is swelling. Not only because of the pain of them pulling his beard. His whole body is starting to swell, and it's got all purple. You know, when somebody gets punched, you see the black and purple marks that come. So his whole body is bloating up. He's losing blood. He's getting weak. When Jesus fell with the cross, do you know why he fell? Because he was so weak from loss of blood. That's why he fell 3 times. Because that was his humanity. Okay? You understand? He's carrying a cross that's over 100 pounds. And they've beaten him to within an inch of his life. So now that's not all. That's not all. Now they take him and they put him on a cross, and they punch nails into his hands and his feet. Okay? So he's on the cross and he's hanging. And guess what? That's still not all. What the Romans did was that they put somewhere around the middle of the back, right here, they would put a little piece of wood that would be coming out of the cross. Right? So when that piece of wood hits your back, right, like right here, okay? So think about that, okay? So the cross is not a smooth piece of wood like we see over there. Do you think if they're going to kill somebody, that they're going to take a tree down and they're going to shave it and make it nice and clean like that? No, they didn't care, because that person's going to die anyway. So they would take the tree, with all the bark on it. Have any of you gone to a tree and just put your face on it and just rub your face up and down? What do you think would happen? It would bleed, right? Okay. So now think about this. This is a tree with all the bark, and they've got another piece of wood this way. And now not only they've got nails in his hands and feet, he's got the crown of thorns, all his back has been lacerated because he's been whipped. And now he's hanging on the tree, right? So, yes, it's true. And he's hanging on the tree, correct? So now, the pain in his hands would be so much that he couldn't bear it. So what would he do? Yeah, there were nails in his hands. So if the pain in his hands would get so hard for him to bear, what would he do? He would put pressure on his feet to kind of lift up his body so he could release some of the pressure of the pain from here, right? So he would push up with his feet, okay? And now he's got a little relief from the nails over here. But when he pushed up with his feet is also nailed. So guess what? Now where would he feel the pain?
In his foot.
In his foot. So what would he want to do now? He would want to take the pressure over here on his hands so he could relieve the pressure of pain in there. So he would go and try to lift himself up here. And then now the pain is here, and he would go and it would be going on for 3 hours.
Oh God.
And so finally he died. You know what Jesus actually died from?
What?
He died from suffocation. Because his heart burst. His heart could not take it anymore. His heart literally burst with love for us. That's how he died. Yes.
What's wrong with just a little blood?
Alright, so
Not the blood, it's not blood.
so do you understand what he went through on the cross? So here's Jesus. He has to come down to earth as a man. He has to be born as a baby. He's born. He was promised that he would be born of a virgin. So the angel Gabriel came to Mary.
The nickname is Gabriel.
Hmm? Your nickname is Gabriel? You know what the word Gabriel means in Hebrew? What does the word Gabriel mean in Hebrew? Remember, everywhere the word, you see the word El, ending in L, it means, what does the word El mean? El means God. Okay, like Elohim. Alright, remember we talked about this before. And Gabriel, so Gabriel, this is El, and G-A-B-R comes from the Hebrew word giver. And this means strong man. So he's the strong man of God. And God sent the strong man of God to Mary to give her the good news that she was going to be the one to have the baby. That all through the Old Testament, the one, all through the Old Testament, the one who was going to be born, that everybody was waiting for, and his name was going to be called Jesus.
How come God didn't have a
Okay, so remember when we came back to this part right here, what was Jesus was born in Bethlehem, right? So what does the word Beth mean?
Son?
Come on, I just told you that. What does the word Beth mean? House. And what do you think the word of Lechem would mean?
God.
House, Lechem means bread.
So how's bread?
So it would be the house of?
Bread.
So in a house of bread, what would we expect to find?
Bread.
And Jesus said, I am the bread of life.
I'm the slice.
So what was the bread? What was the bread? Who was the bread?
Jesus.
Jesus was the bread. That's why he said, I am the bread of life. You understand? Now, when we go into the picture of the stable and we see the manger, and they have this beautiful manger made out of wood with nice straw and stuff in it, right? Do you think that that's what the mangers were in olden days? Where was the manger first of all? It was in a what?
A house.
It was in a house, but in the bottom of the basement, and Nazareth is a very hilly country. So what would they have? They would have made the manger out of?
Grass.
No, it was made out of stone. So what they would have done is that they would have, if this was all stone, they would have made a little trough, an eating trough in there, and they would have hewn the stone out. Okay? So let me explain it to you. Supposing this was a whole block of stone, they would have come and made a hole in the stone like this. So this would have been an empty place right here. Okay, it would have been about this high because it had to be at the right level so that the sheep could come and put their head inside and eat, right? Because it was called a manger. And what is a manger? A manger is basically a feeding trough. You know what a feeding trough is? It's a place where you put the food so that animals can come and eat.
Like dogs?
Not for like pigs.
Right? Not for the pigs, but for sheep.
What are lions?
And the Bible always calls us, they call us what? Sheep. And Jesus was put in a trough where who would be eating? The sheep, no pigs. We are in Israel. The pigs are not kosher. Okay?
You got me confused.
Okay, so who is eating from the trough?
Sheep.
Sheep. Now, Mary and Joseph never lived in Bethlehem. Okay, where was their house? Jesus of? So where was Mary and Joseph from? Nazareth. And they were traveling from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Because Jesus was bread and he had to be born in the house of bread. Okay? And so now, Jesus is placed in this trough. When people used to travel in those days, there was no airplanes, cars, motorcycles.
They were like
How would they travel?
camels.
Camels and horses and donkeys, okay?
And walking.
So when Mary and Joseph were traveling from Nazareth to where? To Bethlehem. Very good. Y'all are paying attention. So when they were traveling from Nazareth to Bethlehem, they were traveling, Mary was sitting on the donkey and Joseph was walking with the donkey. But in those days, if you were traveling, it wasn't like highways where you could stop. There was nothing there, right? So they would have food and everything in the bag. What happens if somebody died along the way? Would they take the body to the next town to bury it, or what would they have to do right away? They would bury it right there. So, if you are traveling on the road, how would you be able to bury the body? What would you have to do?
Put a flower.
what would you do?
Just dig it out.
Hmm?
Stop.
Okay, in those days when they buried the body, what did they wrap the body with?
Mummy.
Like a mummy. So what was that called?
Toilet paper.
It was called what? Not toilet paper. There's no toilet paper. Just remember, we are now in this time. Toilet paper is now. That in those days they didn't have no toilet paper.
Then how did they wipe their...
Okay, so let's not go there. We are talking
Bandages?
bandages. So it would be called. You saw the bandage, the cloth,
Yeah, my dad had
that like gauze. It looks like gauze, right? And you know what that? Hey guys, I put you all separately so you wouldn't talk, and you're still talking. So now, what is that? You know when you go to the doctor and you get a cut, and the doctor wraps you with that bandage?
Yeah.
It's got like all holes in it.
Yeah.
That cloth is called linen cloth.
Linen.
Linen, okay?
So why do
Linen. So it's called like a bandage. Think of it like a gauze. So you know what the people would do when they were traveling long distance, just in case one of them died, they would take the linen gauze and they would wrap it around their body. So in case somebody died, they would have enough linen to wrap the whole body and bury it. Okay? So when Mary and Joseph were in the manger, and guess what? Mary had no clothes for Jesus. So what did she wrap him in? She wrapped him in the linen cloth. So if she wrapped Jesus all completely in linen, what would he have looked like?
A mummy.
A mummy. And when would you see a mummy?
Cool.
When would you see a mummy? When somebody is dead.
That's cool.
So even in his birth, Jesus was already showing us a picture that this is what he came for. He came to die for us. Do you understand? And that's why it says that Mary wrapped him in linen cloth. Do you see it? So this is the reason why Mary wrapped him in linen. So he doesn't look like that little baby that we see in the manger, all beautiful and pretty. He was wrapped up to look like a mummy. Go ahead. Now, you know Bethlehem is like 7 miles. Bethlehem is like 7 miles away from Jerusalem. And Jerusalem was where the Jews had their, what did they have? They had the temple. And in the temple, what would the Jews go to the temple to do what?
To kill the sheep.
To kill the sheep. So, where were the sheep that they used to use for the sacrifice in Jerusalem? Where would they grow the sheep? I mean, where would they keep looking after the sheep and making sure that they had all the babies?
In a farm.
They would do it in Bethlehem. Okay? So when the shepherds came, right? Now listen guys, this is very, very important. Bethlehem is a very hilly country. It's in the hills of Judea. It's called the hills of Judea. And remember when the lamb or the sheep goes to the priest, what is the first thing the priest would do? He would what?
Kill it.
He would, supposing I brought the sheep to the priest and I'm showing him the lamb, what would the first thing the priest?
To make sure it's perfect.
He would have to check it to make sure it's perfect. And now in Judea is a very hilly country. So if it's a hilly country, the sheep can get their fur snagged on the rocks or they can break their bones, right? So you know what the shepherds would do?
What?
They would wrap the sheep's limbs in linen. What would they wrap the sheep in? Linen. Linen. Remember the linen, the same linen that Mary used to wrap baby Jesus? They would wrap the lambs to protect the lambs. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So why do you think that the first people that were told on earth were the shepherds? Why? Why did God pick the shepherds? Because the shepherds were the ones that were raising the lambs to be sacrificed in the temple. And the angels came to tell the shepherds that, hey, not these lambs, but this is the Lamb of God that's going to be sacrificed for the sins of the world. Do you understand? And that's why the shepherds were the first people to be told. Now think about this. When Jesus was born, what time do you think he was born? Close to? We don't know the exact hour or the minute. But what time of day was it? Day or night?
Night.
Night. And when he was born at night, it said that the whole of the heavens lit up with light. And the angels were singing. So when Jesus was born, it was day, it was night, but night became day. And when Jesus was dying on the cross, the day became
Night.
wow. Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
I get it.
When Jesus was born, it was night. And when Jesus was born, night became day. But when Jesus died, he died in the afternoon. It was day, but day became
Night.
night because it became dark and they couldn't see anything. So the Bible is going to blow you away if you can actually see all the beautiful stories that's behind the Christmas story. Why was Jesus wrapped in linen cloth? Now do you all know?
Yeah.
Where was he placed? In a manger. And in the manger, who came to eat the food there in the manger? Sheep. And what are we called in the Bible? Sheep. And who is the actual bread of life?
Jesus.
Jesus. And what do we eat?
Bread.
Bread. And what was the actual bread that we were supposed to eat that is pictured by that whole manger scene? Jesus, because he is the bread of life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is it all coming together now? So you understand why God did everything, God does everything for a reason. It's not just a story that's happening. If you understand the Christmas story, you'll understand why. Why we have Christmas. When you go for a birthday party,
Yeah.
and say supposing it's his birthday, and he invites all of us for his birthday. Right? Okay, so listen. Supposing it's his birthday, and he invites us all to his house, and when we all go to his house, instead of giving him presents, we all give each other presents, and he doesn't get anything.
It's actually my birthday. It's
Yeah.
at my house.
So let me ask you,
Nah.
whose birthday is it?
His.
Mine.
So who's supposed to be getting the presents?
His.
But how come on Christmas, whose birthday is it?
Jesus.
But who gets the presents?
Us.
Why?
Because it's his birthday.
But who's supposed to get the presents?
Jesus.
So why are we getting the presents?
Who knows?
So for Christmas Day, who's supposed to be getting the presents?
Jesus.
So how do we give presents to
What
Jesus?
can we give him?
Exactly. Now we come to the thing. He asked the right question. What can we give him? How can we give Jesus presents on Christmas?
Pray.
We can pray.
We can pray.
Yes. Oh.
What else can we do?
We can show love.
We can show what?
Love.
Respect.
Love to who?
Jesus. Jesus.
How can you show love and respect to Jesus?
God, Jesus.
Because Jesus is in heaven, how can you show love and respect to Jesus?
You can give some presents to the poor.
To the poor. So the only way we can show love and respect to Jesus is by showing love and respect to who else?
The poor.
To the poor. So only the poor need love and respect?
No.
To everybody. Because Jesus said that when you do to others, you do to me. You understand? Jesus says, what you do to others, you do to me. So if you treat somebody else bad, you're actually treating Jesus bad. That's why David understood, King David, he understood this concept. That's why he said, against you, God, against you only have I sinned. Okay? Okay, let's supposing I went in a fit of anger, I went and murdered somebody, right? So he's dead. They say if you do something wrong, you can go to that person and you ask for
Forgiveness.
But if I've killed somebody, he's already dead. So how can I ask him for forgiveness? Can I?
Pray.
So does that mean that I'm not forgiven forever?
You are forgiven.
No. So how can I get forgiveness?
Pray. Asking.
By asking what?
Forgiveness.
By asking forgiveness. But he's dead. So who am I going to ask for forgiveness from?
Jesus.
From God. You understand? That's why God says that you can come to me and ask for forgiveness. You understand why we ask God for forgiveness? Because eventually, no matter what we do to other people, we are doing it to God. So we are sinning against the person, but we are also sinning against God. Is it making sense, guys?
Yes.
So how else can we give Jesus presents? Have any of y'all heard of the Salvation Army or the food bank?
Oh
Do
yeah.
you know on Thanksgiving, they do it every week, but on Thanksgiving and Christmas it becomes like a very festive and special occasion. A lot of us can ask our mom and dads to take us to the food bank or to take us over there to the Salvation Army where they actually make breakfast and feed to the poor. You don't have to cook anything, but you can stand in line and they'll give you a tongs in your hand and all the poor people come in a line and you can just pick up one pancake and put it in their plate, or you can pick up a sausage and put it in their plate just because we are serving others.
School we had a club, and we would go to the food bank and we prepared boxes for the elders and the poor, and we cared about the people.
Good. See, so that's one way we can give Jesus presents, not thinking only about ourselves.
You know how you were explaining, like, someone would serve the food to the other? That's how they do it, like, in middle school, but what's mean of that is because they make the food nasty.
Why?
Because, like,
They don't know how to cook right.
when somebody in my family, she said well, she's in middle school. She said the food is so nasty, even though they do serve it to them.
Like my school.
Well, we shouldn't be doing that. If we are doing something good for people, we have to give them the best, not the worst of what we have, okay?
My school says.
We give them the best.
Would giving to our parents, because it's to be given to Jesus?
Yes, it would, but then again, it would also end up with, you have to ask yourself the question, do your parents have enough? Do your parents have enough?
Yes.
If you say yes, they have enough, then you need to find somebody that doesn't have enough and give it to them,
Go to charity.
right? So Jesus says that the one who doesn't have a coat, you give him a coat. It's not that somebody already has one coat and you give him another, so now he has two coats. It doesn't make any sense. He already has a coat, but somebody that doesn't have, you give to them. Is it making sense? Like, what I'm saying is that you don't have to break your whole piggy bank open and give everything you have to the poor.
That's so dumb.
That's not what God is asking you, but God says that we have to have mercy in our heart, that we think of other people and give them something, okay? So maybe you keep a couple of bottles of cold water in your car, and when you stop at a light and you see a homeless person standing there, you can just give them a bottle of water. If you buy a whole 24 pack of water at Sam's, it only costs like $5, okay? And that's 24 bottles of water. So for $5, we can be good to 24 people. Yes? Houston is a very hot city. Even in winter, sometimes in the afternoon, it gets really, really hot. So we could be nice to people like that. Or when you're in McDonald's, sometimes there's some poor people hanging outside. We could just buy them a small sandwich for $1 and just give it to them to eat. That's how we could be nice.
What if we're really hungry?
I buy them a Happy Meal.
You're just so.
Do any of you think that we can outgive God?
No.
No, we can't. If you give God $100, God will give you back 1,000. If we give him 1,000, He give us 1,000,000, right? He always has more than what we have. So if we give a little bit, it doesn't mean we don't do it for selfish reasons that we say, oh, I'm going to give this money so God is going to give me more. We don't do it for that reason. We give it because we are merciful to others and because we care for people. You understand? Okay. So is the Christmas story making a lot more sense to you?
Yeah.
So now there's all of the Jews have got this Bible, right? They've all got this Bible. And all of them have been told that a Messiah is coming, and these are all the things that's going to happen for the Messiah to be born. So now, the second thing, so the first thing we talked about was the manger. We understand why Jesus was born in the trough, why Mary wrapped him with linen cloth. We understand that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. We understand why did they go to Bethlehem? Because Jesus had to be born in the house of bread. But also because Caesar Augustus had made a law that said that the city that you are born in, you have to go there for a census, and you have to sign in the city of your birth, or the city of your father, okay? That's why Mary and Joseph had to make that trip. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. For example, if they did a census today, and Obama comes and says that everybody, wherever you are born, you have to go over there. He's not in charge yet. Right now we still have Obama as our president. So so your father, say your father was born in California, not in Houston or Texas, then he would have to go to California to sign in for the census. Do you understand? So Joseph was born in Bethlehem, or his family came from the city of David. That's why he had to go back there to sign, and that's the reason why Jesus was born in Bethlehem and not in Nazareth. Okay? So now think, wait. Now 700 or 800 years before all this happened, because God's plan is going on through thousands of years. It's not just a plan that He put into place and everything came about. So God has been planning this 500 or 600 or 700 years ago. There was a prophet named Daniel.
Yeah.
And when the Jewish people were taken into captivity, Daniel was taken to Babylon. Okay? That's how Daniel landed in Babylon. You know where Babylon is? It's modern day Iraq. Okay, so what we call today, what we call Iraq, that would have been at that time Babylon. So Daniel was taken to Babylon, and Daniel was one of the Magi. So when we sing the song, "We Three Kings of Orient are," any of you heard this Christmas song? Yes? Do you know in the Bible it never says that there were 3 kings?
Yes. Yep.
Never ever says that. Okay? It says that the Magi came from the east. Now think about this, Babylon and Israel, like, I don't know the exact distance, but let's say it's like 1,000 miles away from each other, okay? So do you think that 3 kings would travel on their own? Come on guys.
No.
If there were 3 kings, would they be traveling on their own?
No.
1,000 miles through desert and rough terrain where there were robbers and what would they call them? Those highwaymen, highway robbers, right? So they would come to rob you. So if you are traveling 1,000 miles and there's no Motel 6 or other restaurants all along the highway, you would have to be carrying a whole bunch of food to take you across the desert. So how many camels do you think you would need to be carrying all that food?
About 25.
25? We're talking about 25 or 30 camels just for the food. Then also they would need people for protection, right, with swords, like soldiers that would be able to fight for them.
Yeah.
So how many soldiers?
50.
50 or 100?
Oh.
Okay, then you have the people, and then they wouldn't have to travel because the journey took maybe 6 months. So how many other people would be along in that caravan? So you're talking about 300 to 500 people, right? So now think about this. It says when the Magi came into the place where Herod lived, in the palace, when they heard the prophecy that a king would be born, the king of the Jews would be born, okay, and you expect a king to be born, if we had to come to America and we are looking for the king to be born, where would we go first? Where do you think we would go?
To the palace.
To the palace. So where's the palace in America? Huh? Who said that? Where do you think? Come on.
House?
Okay, supposing I'm looking for a person, a baby that's going to be born king of
White
America.
House.
Where would I go?
What?
To the White House. So they went to Herod's palace because they thought king of the Jews, Herod is the king, so it's probably going to be born in his house. So that's why they went to Herod's palace. Do you understand? Looking for the king. Now, if only 2 or 3 people showed up over there, do you think it would have made a big scene?
No.
No, but if 1,000 or 2,000 people showed up, now would it make a big scene? So you know why Herod went crazy when he heard the story of these people from the Far East coming to his palace looking for the king of the Jews, and then he started questioning them and asking them, how did you come here? They said we are following a star. So they followed a star all the way from the east to the west, right? So they followed the star and they came. And the star came and stopped over Bethlehem. So when Herod asked them, how long ago was it? They probably told him that it was like 6 months or a year ago. And Herod said, let's be safe. Instead of 6 months or a year, let's make it 2 years. So he called his soldiers and he told them, where is this baby going to be born? What does the prophecy say? So what did they tell him?
There was born
Where would the baby be born? What did the prophecy say?
in White House.
Where? Where was Jesus born? So what did the priest tell Herod? That the baby would be born where? In Bethlehem. So Herod, he told his soldiers to go to Bethlehem and every baby 2 years or younger, kill him.
What?
Yeah, that was like the big.
So now you know why all the babies were killed when Jesus was born.
But weren't they cute?
Because he was trying to kill all the babies so that he would have no competition, so that the king of the Jews wouldn't be born and grow up and take over his throne. So he killed all the babies. Yes?
Killed all the babies.
Herod sent his soldiers to kill all the babies.
Their hands mess. It's like they hate me.
Okay? So then, before he sent the soldiers to kill them, to kill all the babies, guess what happened to Jesus and Mary and Joseph?
They got separated.
No. What happened to them? An angel visited who?
Oh, yeah.
Joseph. An angel visited Joseph how did he visit him? He visited him in a dream. And he told him that Herod is after the baby to kill him. So run where?
To the palace.
Run where?
White House.
Where would they run?
Nazareth.
What?
Where would they run?
What?
He told them to run to Egypt. So they ran to Egypt. Okay, and they lived in Egypt for many years.
Why Egypt?
Egypt, because that's where the angel told them to go.
Oh.
To be safe. So they went to Egypt.
No,
Why did they run to Egypt? Because there was another prophecy that says, out of Egypt have I called my son. So how could God have called his son out of Egypt if they didn't go to Egypt? So Jesus went to live in Egypt, and then out of Egypt, God called him back to Israel. Do you understand? So another prophecy fulfilled. So everything happens because of the Old Testament. If we don't read the Old Testament, we are not going to understand the New. Any questions on Christmas so far? So you know why the shepherds were given the first message? Why? Why were the shepherds given the first message? Why were the shepherds chosen and not the rich people? Why did God not appear in the temple in Jerusalem? Because that's where all the people are praying and saying God, 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 God all day long, right? But why shepherds? Why?
Oh, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Where did the presents come from?
The presents come from? Okay, the reason the presents come from is because it says that the Magi came to Jesus and gave him they gave him three gifts. Okay? It doesn't say how many people gave the gifts, but he received 3 gifts. So what were the gifts that Jesus received? Or Jesus' parents, what gifts did they receive? From the what gifts did they receive?
God. Silver.
Silver.
What? Frankincense. What is frankincense?
Frankenstein.
Oh,
It's a frankincense.
yeah. Not
Okay, for this one, what do we call it? This is what they call it in the Bible, but this is what we call it today. Anybody know what incense is?
No.
When you go to the gas stations, you see those little sticks that they sell by the counter for incense. You light them up so that they give you a nice smell. Incense? Okay. When you go to church, for the ones that go to church on Sunday, you see the priest, sometimes he carries that little bowl, it's called a censer, and they have the little chain attached to it, and it's got hot coals burning inside, and they take a little bit of that incense and they pour it over the coal, and it leaves off, what does it leave off?
Smoke.
Smoke. And that's the smoke that they used to burn in the temple, okay? And the smoke is pleasing to God. It says that God gets happy when he smells that, okay? So the frankincense was given as a soothing and pleasing aroma for God. The gold, you know why gold was given. Gold was money, right? Because if they're going to run to Egypt, they're going to need money to survive. Because Joseph and Mary, they don't speak Egyptian, they speak Hebrew. And Joseph is a carpenter, and he's going to be a foreigner in that land. He's going to be a foreigner in that land. So before he establishes his business, how is he going to provide for Mary and Joseph? So the gold that they received as a gift, that helped them through the bad times. You understand? The frankincense was the incense that was the sweet smelling aroma that God liked. What is myrrh? Any of you all know what myrrh is? Myrrh? Myrrh is a balm. It's a balm.